Hi class, this is the homework for Tuesday, March 18th, where we studied 30, 60, 90 degree triangles today. And in your homework, you'll also be reviewing 45, 45, 90. So the relationship between the small side, S, is going to be related to the hypotenuse and also related to the long leg. If you have the small side, the hypotenuse is going to be twice that. If you have the small side, the long leg is going to be the small side times rad 3. Let's write those down. H equals 2 times the small side. The hypotenuse is going to be equal to 2 times the short leg. Let's see. The long leg is going to be equal to that short side times rad 3. So if I'm given this short side, if I multiply it by 2, I'll get the hypotenuse. If I multiply it by rad 3, I'll get the long leg. This also leads us to this idea that the small leg is equal to half the hypotenuse. If the hypotenuse is twice, if this is twice the short leg, then the short leg is going to be half of this. And if I want to find the short leg given the long leg, I need to divide it by rad 3. So if I'm given this leg here, I need to divide it by rad 3 to find this leg. So those are the formulas and relationships. So let's go through this and do some of these problems. Now I kind of wish I had made this so that you had a triangle for each problem, but I'm going to just put my extra copy of my triangle here and see if that helps us as we're trying to sort out what we have and what we're looking for. So for number 1, if A equals 4, then what is the hypotenuse? Well, the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times 4. So that's going to be 8. Okay? The hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. This is the short leg. Maybe it would help if we just wrote this is S, this is the hypotenuse, and this is the long leg. Okay. So we're given the short leg. We know the hypotenuse now is 2 times that. And the long leg is going to be equal to, let me move this over, S rad 3. Okay, so if we're given 4, then we can see that the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times that. And if we're given 4, then we can see the long leg is going to be 4 rad 3. That's an S. All right, number 2. We're given that the short side is 4 rad 3. Okay, that means that the hypotenuse is going to be twice that. So 2 times 4 rad 3. Well, 2 times 4 is 8, 8 rad 3. So the hypotenuse is 8 rad 3. Some of this is going to be in pencil so I can erase stuff. All right, so if the short leg is 4 rad 3, then the hypotenuse is twice that, so it's 8 rad 3. And the long leg is going to be equal to 4 rad 3 times rad 3. So you take the short side and multiply it by rad 3. Okay, that's 4 times 3, right, because that equals 3, and that's 12. Number 3. This time we're given the long leg, B. So B equals 4. If B equals 4, then we must find the short leg next. The short leg is going to be 4 divided by rad 3. So the long leg is 4. The short leg is going to be 4 divided by rad 3. Well, we need to simplify that, so I'll just go ahead and write it down here. 4 rad 3. We can't have that radical on the bottom, so let's multiply by rad 3, rad 3. We get 4 rad 3 over 3. So once we were given the long leg, we divided by rad 3, and we get 4 rad 3 over 3 when we simplify that. So our A is 4 rad 3 over 3. Now if I want to find the hypotenuse from the short leg, I double it. So I'm going to take this and multiply it by 2. So 2 times 4 rad 3 over 3. You multiply that 2 times the 4, that's on the outside, leave the rad 3 in the inside, and put it over 3. So we get 8 rad 3 over 3. If b equals 4, divide it by rad 3 to find the short side. We get this, double it to find the hypotenuse. Okay, number 4. This time we're given that the long leg is 4 rad 3. Okay, to find the short leg, you take 4 rad 3 and divide it by rad 3. So if I'm going to go from the long leg to the short leg, I need to divide by rad 3. Okay, find the short leg, I take the long leg and divide by rad 3. Those cancel, and we get 4 for A. Now I'm going to double it to find the hypotenuse, and that's 8. Okay. Number 5. I'm going to use this picture now because this is getting too far away. All right, if C equals 4, then A is going to be half of that. The short side equals half of the hypotenuse. So this is going to be 2. So A equals 2. Now once I find the short side, I multiply it by rad 3 to find the long side. Okay. Look at the formulas to see if that helps you. If we're given the short side is equal, we're given the hypotenuse is greater than 4. So take half of that to find the short side, and then multiply it by rad 3. Okay, number 6. If C equals 4 rad 3, then what does A equal? Again, S, this short side is going to be equal to half of the hypotenuse. So I'm going to multiply 1/2 times that. Well, we get 4 rad 3 on the top. 1 times 4 is 4 rad 3. 2 times 1 on the bottom, 2. Now I'm going to simplify that, and I get 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. That's 2 rad 3. So I'm just taking 4 rad 3, the hypotenuse, and cutting it in half, dividing this by 2 to find this. All right, so once we find the short side, then we can use that to find the long side. Well, the short side is 2 rad 3. If this is 2 rad 3, to find the long leg, you have to multiply it by rad 3. That's 2 times 3, that's 6. Okay, number 7. If A, that's the short side again, so that's the nice one to have. It's nice to have the short side first. If this equals 5 rad 6, well then the hypotenuse, we're going to go for C, the hypotenuse equals twice that. So 2 times 5 rad 6 equals 10 rad 6. So we just doubled the outside number here. Oops, that's supposed to be for C. To get from the short leg, S, to the hypotenuse, double it. Now to get from the short leg to the long leg, multiply it by rad 3. And we get 5 rad 18. And we need to simplify this. This is 5 rad 9 rad 2. That's equal to 5 times 3. That cancels out, right? Or you can take the square root up. Rad 2. So that's 15 rad 2. So B is 15 rad 2. Okay. Number 8. Let's put this here. H here in pen. And this is the L. Okay, number 8. If B equals 5 square roots of 6. Okay, so the long leg equals 5 square roots of 6. To get to the short leg, you need to divide by, see the formulas up here. If I want to get the short leg, I need to take the long leg and divide by rad 3. So 5 rad 6 divided by rad 3 will give us this short side. Okay, this times rad 3, this times rad 3. We get 5 rad 18 over 3. need to simplify this. This is 5 rad 9 times rad 2 all over 3. This becomes 5 times 3 rad 2 over 3. Let's cancel those 3's, and we get 5 rad 2. So if B equals 5 rad 6, if I divide it by rad 3, I get 5 rad 2. Okay, so we found the short side is 5 rad 2. Now to find the hypotenuse, double it. 10 rad 2. Number 9. If C equals 5 rad 6, it's our hypotenuse. Now, first thing, we always want to find the short side after we've given something. Find the short side. Okay, so that's going to be the short side, remember, is a half of the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 1/2 times 5 rad 6 over 1. So to find this, I need to take half of that. Half of that. This is multiplication. 1 times 5 on the top, rad 6, and on the bottom 2 times 1, that's 2. So our short side is 5 rad 6 over 2. Now to find the long leg, I can take the short leg. Remember, the long leg equals the short leg times rad 3. So I'm going to take 5 rad 6. I'm going to do it down here. 5 rad 6 over 2, that's the short leg. I'm going to multiply it by rad 3. Right, to get from the short leg, to get from the hypotenuse to the short leg, I divided by 2, and so we got this. To get from the short leg to here, we need to multiply by rad 3. So this becomes 5 rad 18 over 2. I need to simplify that. 5 rad 9 rad 2 all over 2. Keep going. 5 times 3 times rad 2 all over 2. And that's 15 rad 2 all over 2. So the short leg was 5 rad 6 over 2, and the long leg is going to be that times rad 3, and we get 15 rad 2 all over 2. Okay, a lot of radical work. But the relationships are very clear, and the more you practice this, the faster you'll get. The short side here is going to equal, the hypotenuse is going to equal 2 times the short side. The long leg is going to equal square root of 3 times the short side. So once you're given the short side, all you have to do is double it to find the hypotenuse and multiply it by rad 3 to find the long leg. Now if you're given the long leg, you have to divide by rad 3 to get this small side, and then you can double it to find the hypotenuse. So if you're given the long leg, find the short side by dividing by rad 3, then double it to find the hypotenuse. If you're given the hypotenuse, take half of it to find that short side, and then take the short side and multiply it by rad 3 to find the long leg. All right, now the next set of questions is about the 45, 45, 90. So if this is a leg, and this is a leg, and this is the hypotenuse. So legs equal each other, and the hypotenuse equals the leg times square root of 2. Or you could also say the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. So we can use these formulas here to solve these 45, 90 degree triangles. Okay, so here we're given that D equals 5. Okay, so this is a leg, and this is a leg. Remember, in a 45, 45, 90, these two sides opposite the 45 degree angles are congruent. So if D equals 5, E equals 5. And F is going to be equal to 5 times rad 2. Okay? The legs are congruent, and then to find the hypotenuse, you just need to multiply it by rad 2. Multiply the side by rad 2. Okay, if D equals square root of 5, okay, so this is square root of 5, then E is square root of 5, because they're congruent. And F is equal to square root of 5 times square root of 2. Right? To find the hypotenuse, you take the leg and multiply it by square root of 2. So that's square root of 10. Okay? If f equals 5, so this time we're given the hypotenuse. In order to find the legs, you take the hypotenuse and divide by square root of 2. Right? The hypotenuse divided by square root of 2. So that's going to be equal to 5 divided by square root of 2. If you rationalize this, you get 5 rad 2 over 2. So the legs are 5 rad 2 over 2. Bit better. And both legs are congruent. Okay, if f equals the square root of 5, that's the hypotenuse. So the legs are going to be equal to the square root of 5 divided by the square root of 2. Rationalize this. And we get the square root of 10 on the top and 2 on the bottom. Our legs are the square root of 10 over 2. 14. I'll use this triangle so we have it handy. If D equals 6 rad 2, okay, so that's a leg, right? This is a leg. So if the leg is 6 rad 2, then the other leg is 6 rad 2. And the way you find the hypotenuse is multiplying 6 rad 2 times rad 2. We're going from a smaller side to a larger side, so we're going to multiply by rad 2. That becomes 6 times 2, which is 12. Okay. If f equals 6 rad 2, okay, so now the hypotenuse is 6 rad 2. If I want to get to the leg, I need to divide. 6 rad 2 divided by rad 2. So I'm going from the hypotenuse to a smaller, so I'm going to divide by rad 2. Those cancel, so I get 6, and the other leg is congruent, 6. Okay. If E equals 1, that's a leg, right? If E equals 1, then D equals 1, and F equals 1 times rad 2, which is just rad 2. If F equals 1, then we need to divide it by rad 2. Okay, here we have F equals 1. So then in order to get to the leg, we need to divide. This is going to be 1 over rad 2. All right, let's rationalize that. That's rad 2 over rad 2 times that. We get rad 2 over 2. So D and E are both going to be rad 2 over 2, rad 2 over 2. So in the 45-90, to get from the legs are congruent. To get from the leg, to find the length of the hypotenuse from the leg, you multiply by rad 2. So we multiply by rad 2 to get this length. Now if we're given this length, you divide by rad 2 to get these. In the 30, 60, 90, it's a little more involved. When you're given the small side, you double it to find the hypotenuse, and you multiply by rad 3 to find the long leg. Okay, I'll say that again. When you're given the small leg of a 30, 60, 90, you double it to find the hypotenuse, and you multiply it by rad 3 to find the long leg. Now, if you're given the hypotenuse, you must divide by 2 to find the short side, and then multiply by rad 3 to get the long leg. If you're given the long leg, you must divide by square root of 3 to find the short leg, and then double it to find the hypotenuse. So whatever you're given, the next thing you should find is the short side, because that will help you either find the hypotenuse or the long leg. Okay, I think that's the front side. Let's go to the back. Are these triangles? And if yes, then determine the type of triangle. All right, so these three sides, 5, 6, and 10, remember, you take the two smaller sides, and is that greater than 10? Well, 5 plus 6 is 11. That's greater than 10. So yes, these are going to form a triangle. So what kind of a triangle? Well, you take the 10 squared, and we determine, is that less than, greater than, or equal to 5 squared plus 6 squared? So let's see. We get 100. We get 25. We get 36. This is 100. This is 61. 100 is bigger. So that means that this is an obtuse triangle. When you take the longer side and square it, if it's greater than the two shorter sides that have been squared, then it's obtuse. All right, let's look at 19. We have 3 lengths of triangles here. We're going to add up the 2 short ones. So 8 plus 6, is that greater than 10? Add up the 2 shorter ones and see if it's greater than the big one. That's 14, greater than 10, so yes, this is a triangle. Now let's see what kind. Take the long side, that's 10 squared. Is that going to be less than, greater than, or equal to 6 squared plus 8 squared? The 2 smaller sides. So that's 100, that's 36, that's 64. Oh, looks like they're equal. 36 plus 64 is 100, so this is a right triangle. Okay, in this example here, we take the 2 smaller sides and we see if we add them up, are they bigger than 9? And we see, no, 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 is not bigger than 9, so this is not a triangle. Remember, the 2 shorter sides have to add up to greater than the third side. All right, now we're going to add these up and see if these are bigger than 1. So we have 3/5 plus 4/5. Is that bigger than 1? Well, to add fractions, you have the common denominator, so you keep that as a 5. This is 7/5. That is definitely greater than 1. 7/5 is greater than 1, so this is a triangle. So now we're going to square the long side, 1 squared, and see. Is it greater than, less than, or equal to the 2 smaller sides squared and added together? 3/5 squared plus 4/5 squared. Okay, so 1 squared is 1. 3/5 squared, well, you square the 3, that's 9, and you square the 5, that's 25. And we're going to add that. Square the 4, that's 16. Square the 5, that's 25. So on this side, we're going to add these 2 fractions together. The denominator is the same, so we keep it. And 9 plus 16 is 25. Oh, look, 25 over 25, that's equal to 1. So the left side is 1, and the right side is also 1. So these are equal, and this is a right triangle. All right, it's been a while since we've done this one, so let's see if we can figure out what these angles are. This is a pentagon, and it's a regular pentagon. So probably the easiest way is to find the exterior angle first. So if we take 360 and divide by 5, because that's how many sides there are and how many exterior angles we're going to use, and we get 72 degrees. So this exterior angle is 72 degrees. I just took 360 and I divided by 5, and we get 72. Well, if the exterior angle is 72, then the interior angle is 180 minus 72, right? These are supplementary, so that's 108. Now the other way you could do this is you could find the interior angle sum first and divide by 5. So the interior angle sum, let me just finish this one, this is 108. The interior angle sum is equal to 5 minus 2 times 180. So that's 3 times 180, and that's 540. Now if you divide 540 by the number of angles we have inside, which is 5, then guess what? You get 108. So you would find the interior angle first by finding the interior angle sum, which is 540 degrees, and then you divide that by 5. Or you could find the exterior angle by taking 360, since these all equal 360, divide by 5, and you'll get 72. Okay, this is a hexagon, so it's 6 sides. All right, so this one, I'm going to try to find the length of this piece right here. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to recognize that that's 10 and that's 10. So this is an isosceles triangle. So I'm going to make a 90-degree angle here and divide that isosceles triangle into 2 congruent triangles. Right? This is going to be congruent to this. So I have a right triangle here. Now what is the measure of this angle right here? Well, let's see. This is a hexagon. So that's the interior angle sum is 6 minus 2 times 180. So So that's 4 times 180. So that's 720. If I want to know what this big angle is, divide that by 6, and we get 120. So this angle right here is 120. So all these angles here are 120. So if I split this angle in half, that means that this is 60. And this is 60. So I split this big long isosceles triangle into two triangles, and guess what? They're 30, 60, 90 triangles. So if the hypotenuse is 10, then I can find the short side. So that short side is going to be 10 divided by 2, which is 5. And then if I want to find this piece, I take 5 and I multiply it by rad 3. So the answer is 5 rad 3. Oh, it's 5 rad 3 plus 5 rad 3. So it's 10 rad 3. I went through that pretty fast, but the idea was that I needed to take this triangle here and cut it in half. And when I did that, I knew that I was cutting this 120 degree angle. All these angles are 120. Cut this 120 into 60 degrees here and 60 degrees here. So we have a 30, 60, 90. When you're given the hypotenuse, divide it by 2 to find the short side, which is 5. And then take 5 and multiply it by rad 3 to find the long leg. So I'm looking at this triangle right here, and this half. Here we go. And I found that this is 5 rad 3, but if I want the whole length of x, I have to double it because there's 2 pieces here. So there's your answer. All right, 24. Here's a square. We're asked to find x, the length of the side. Okay, so if this is 10, well, this is a square, so this is a 90 degree angle. And so is this. I'm going to go ahead and use the big triangle, but you could use the small triangle as well. Notice we have a right triangle here. Half of a square means that this is 45 and this is 45. Okay, so this is the hypotenuse of a right triangle. And if I want to find x, I can use the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle rules. This is 10. That means that this is 10, right? Diagonals bisect each other. So this whole thing is 20. All right, this is a 45, 45. We're given the hypotenuse. Remember, the leg equals the hypotenuse divided by square root of 2. So I'm going to take the hypotenuse of 20 and divide by the square root of 2. And that's going to give me x. This will also be x. Right? This is a right. This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. All right, this whole thing is 20. So to find the leg, I'm going to divide by rad 2. Multiply by rad 2 on the bottom, rad 2 on the top. We get 20 rad 2 over 2. We can simplify this outside. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So we get 10 rad 2. So this side right here is 10 rad 2, which is kind of confusing because you would think, I guess if you used the smaller triangles, it would have worked faster. Look at the smaller triangle. This triangle here, if I had the leg, I could just multiply it by rad 2, and I could have gotten that as well. Either way, proportions. Okay, I'm noticing that we have 2 triangles here that are similar. So I'm going to say that 9, this side here, corresponds to x. So 9 of this triangle corresponds to x, as 3 of this triangle corresponds to 5. I could have also done 9 goes to 3 as x goes to 5, and we'll get the same cross products. So 9 goes to 3 as x goes to 5. Cross multiply, we get 3x equals 45. Right? X equals 15. Number 26 is also similar triangles. We can set up a proportion. So this side corresponds, this side corresponds with this side. So 4 corresponds with 6 as 5. 4 corresponds with 6 as 5 corresponds with x. Okay, I'm going to cross multiply and solve. 4x equals 30. X equals 30 over 4, which is 15 over 2. So x is 15 over 2. Now to find y, I can use the same relationship. 4 goes to x, or 6. 4 goes to 6 as y goes to 7. Right? You've got to set up your proportions correctly. 4 goes to 6 as y goes to 7. And cross multiply, that's 28 equals 6y. Divide by 6, get y equals 28 divided by 6. I can simplify that by dividing by 2. Divide this side by 2, divide this side by 2, and you get 14 over 3. So there's x and there's y. And that's the assignment. And it's a pretty hefty one. And it requires a lot of attention. I'll see you on Thursday.